Welcome back to Roundball Rants, the show where we break down everything happening across the NBA landscape, one division at a time. If you caught our last episode, the Pacific Division preview, you know we had plenty to unpack. We talked about the Lakers' revamped depth chart, the Warriors trying to turn back the clock, and whether the Suns' new firepower can finally translate into chemistry. That one was heated. And if you missed it, go check it out on our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and drop a comment with your Pacific predictions. Now today's episode takes us into some new territory, the Northwest Division. This is where altitude meets attitude. And the defending champions, the Oklahoma City Thunder, are sitting right at the center of it all. And hey, don't forget, I want to hear from you. Call the Roundball Rants hotline and tell me who you've got running the Northwest this season. Your take could get featured on this show. So bring the energy, bring the receipts, and let's talk hoops. All right, let's get into it. The Northwest preview starts right now. Let's start this Northwest Division breakdown off at the bottom of last year's standings, the Utah Jazz. Man, this rebuild has been a slow burn. The post-Gobert and Donovan Mitchell era has been full of false starts, veteran stopgaps, and flashes of potential that never quite stayed consistent. But for the first time in a while, it feels like Utah finally understands who they are. A developing team focused on patience, youth, and growth, instead of quick fixes. The Jazz hit reset again this offseason. Veterans like Jordan Clarkson and John Collins were moved, opening up real minutes for their young core. That means more touches for Keontae George, more responsibility for Walker Kessler, anchor in the paint, and for a chance for rookie Ace Bailey to make an early impact. Bailey, their top 5 pick, is long, athletic, and oozing with upside. Exactly the type of player this franchise has lacked since the Mitchell trade. And then there's Lauri Markkanen, the face of the franchise, at least for now. He's quietly been one of the most efficient forwards in basketball since arriving in Utah, a nightly 23-8 guy who can score at all 3 levels. But here's the million-dollar question. Is he still part of Utah's future, or just its present? The front office has been listening to trade calls, not shopping him, but not shutting the door either, which tells you everything you need to know about where they are in the rebuild. On the floor, this team is going to look different. Expect the Jazz to play faster, lean into the athleticism of their young wings, and use Kessler as a defensive anchor while the kids learn to navigate NBA speed. Offensively, George will be given the keys to the car. That means turnovers, growing pains, but also big nights where you see why Utah drafted him in the first place. Taylor Hendricks is another name to keep an eye on. Last year was up and down for him, but his combination of rim protection and floor spacing still makes him one of the more intriguing forwards in the conference. And if Bryce Sensabaugh can stay healthy and consistent, he gives them another shot creator off the wing, which they've desperately needed. So what's realistic for Utah this season? Probably not a playoff push. Not yet. Vegas has them at around 25 wins, and that feels about right. I'll give them a little benefit of the doubt and say 27. Because they'll catch teams sleeping in Salt Lake City. This group will play hard, even if the wins don't show up. The real goal here isn't the record. It's development. Utah wants to see George emerge as a lead guy. They want to know if Bailey's ready to be the long-term running mate for Markkanen or whoever's next in line. They want Kessler to become more than just a rim protector, a defensive quarterback who can anchor the team's identity. There's going to be some rough nights, no question. They'll struggle to score in stretches, especially when the jump shots stop falling. The defense will depend heavily on whether Kessler can stay out of foul trouble and whether the young wings can handle the NBA spacing, but they'll have moments. A road upset here, a hot streak from George there. That reminds you that the talent is real. For Jazz fans, this is another year of patience. But not another year of confusion. The direction is finally clear. They're building around youth, athleticism, and a system that can grow together instead of patching holes with vets who don't fit the long-term goal. My advice, don't get caught up in the standings. Focus on whether this team competes, whether those young guys develop chemistry, and whether Will Hardy continues to connect with his players. If those boxes get checked, the wins will come. Maybe not this season, but soon enough. So while the Jazz might start at the bottom of the division again, they're no longer spinning their wheels. They're laying the bricks for something that could matter 2 or 3 years down the road. And that's progress, even if it doesn't always feel like it's in the box score. Next up, we're heading a little west to Portland, where another young team is trying to prove that rebuilding doesn't have to mean staying at the bottom forever. Next up, we head to Portland, a team that's been living in the shadows of transition for what feels like forever. The trade of youth, and yes, the departure of Anthony Simmons, signaled that this rebuild was now officially underway. The 24-25 season showed how steep the climb really is, but also that the blueprint is becoming more clear. The Blazers finished near the bottom of the West again, but this time the struggle had a purpose. It wasn't about patching holes with vets or chasing scraps. It was about giving young players real minutes, letting them learn through mistakes, and identifying who's ready to be a part of the core. Let's start with Scoot Henderson, because everything important begins with him now. Last year had its ups and downs for the young point guard, but toward the back half of the season, the game started to slow down for him. Fewer forced drives, more pick and roll reads, flashes of leadership that remind you why he was such a highly touted prospect. He still has his work to do, especially his jumper and decision-making under pressure, but the confidence is real, and that's half the battle for a young guard trying to lead a rebuild. Next, Jrue Holiday. Yes, the veteran might seem like an odd fit for a youthful rebuild, but this is exactly why Portland made the move. Holiday brings steadiness, experience in winning, and a perimeter defense edge. His job? To steady the ship, mentor the young guards, and set the tone. It's less about him being the franchise star and more about him being an anchor for a growth phase. Alongside them, Shaedon Sharpe remains the wild card with perhaps the highest ceiling on the roster. We've seen stretches where he looks like a future all-star, hitting step backs, skying for dunks, flashing elite shot-making ability, but consistency, availability, and decision-making still haunt him. If Sharpe can stay on the floor and grow alongside Scoot and Holiday, you've got a backcourt of the future. Up front, the Blazers are leading into Donovan Clingan and other young forwards. Are the next wave. Athletic, long, and moldable. The team still has veterans and role players in the mix, but the goal is clear. Front court growth through internal development rather than big free agent splashes. Depth-wise, Portland's bench is a mix of unproven youth, Clingan among them, and hardworking role players. It's not flashy, but it's functional. The bigger issue remains done-to-death defense. The Blazers were among the worst defensive squads last year, and until that changes, they'll keep losing close games. As for expectations, look, nobody's talking playoffs here. Vegas has them in the mid-20s for wins, which feels fair. I lean toward 28 wins, maybe 30 if everything goes right. Scoot takes a leap, Sharpe stays healthy and consistent, and Holiday leads. The front court guys, the young guys, they have to make visible progress. But that's what this is, a progress season. So don't get it twisted. This team might lose a lot, but they'll be entertaining, fast-paced, athletic, dunking on people, giving their fans hope again. After years of uncertainty, that's something worth showing up for. Up next, we move to Minnesota, where the Minnesota Timberwolves are trying to prove last year's playoff run wasn't a fluke, and that Anthony Edwards isn't just the future. He's the now. All right, moving up the ladder, we've got the Minnesota Timberwolves, a team that's been flirting with greatness, knocking on the door for a few years now, and finally looking like they're figuring out how to keep it open. Last season, they didn't quite reach the mountaintop, but they climbed high enough to see the view. You could feel it. Something clicked. They were one of the best defensive units in the entire league. They had identity, swagger, and just enough youth to make you think The best is still ahead. And let's be honest, this is Anthony Edwards' team now. There's no debate, no confusion, no question about it. The man has taken the torch and sprinted with it. Edwards has that rare kind of confidence that feels natural, like he was born for this moment. The way he carries himself, the way he plays, it's the kind of swagger you can't fake. Coming off another All-Star season and another deep playoff run, he's stepping into that next tier of superstardom. The numbers tell part of the story, but it's the leadership that's changed everything. You can see his teammates following his energy. He's not just scoring, he's setting a tone. That's what makes Minnesota believe again. Now the key to the Wolves taking another step isn't just about Ant doing more, it's about the players around him, especially Jaden McDaniels. McDaniels has become one of those perimeter defenders that nobody wants to see. He takes the assignment of your best scorer and turns it into a long night. He's that good defensively. But what's exciting for Minnesota fans is that he's starting to expand his offensive game too. He's cutting, shooting with more confidence, and finding ways to impact the game without forcing it. That's how you build a true contender, when your role guys start turning into difference makers. And then you've got Rudy Gobert, the anchor, the steadying force in the middle. People love to debate his style, his limitations. But then when Gobert's locked in, he completely changes the feel of a game. Rim protection, rebounding, alternating shots, that's his domain. He doesn't need to score to dominate. He just needs to control the paint. And when he does that, everything around him falls into place. Edwards gets to take more chances, McDaniels gets to pressure the ball, and suddenly that defense looks suffocating again. Off the bench, Naz Reid continues to be one of the best stories of the league. A guy who went undrafted, fought for every minute he's earned, and now brings six-man production that keeps the Wolves steady when the starters sit. He's instant offense, instant energy, and the type of glue piece that every real contender needs. You can make a case that Reed's presence gives Minnesota the kind of front court depth most teams dream about. In the backcourt, the veteran Mike Conley is still steering the ship. He's not the same explosive guard he once was, but his leadership and decision-making have been crucial. He organizes, he calms, he teaches. And on a young team with a superstar still learning the finer points of control, that matters more than people realize. Behind him, you've got Nickeil Alexander-Walker providing defensive spark and versatility, and Monte Morris returning to Minnesota to help steady the second unit. Those veteran touches make a difference when you're talking about playoff expectations. And that's really the heart of the conversation, expectations. Because the West is a gauntlet. You've got champions, dynasties, and up-and-comers all fighting for the same real estate. The Wolves have to prove they can not only survive that fight, but win it consistently. The good news is the window's open. The bad news is it's not that wide. Every year matters, and this one might matter the most. If everything clicks, if Edward keeps evolving as a playmaker, if McDaniels continues to grow offensively, if Gordon stays healthy and dominates, and if the bench keeps delivering, then you're looking at a team that can absolutely win 50, maybe even 52 games and grab a top 4 seed in the West. That's a legitimate ceiling. But if the chemistry stumbles or injuries creep in, they could fall right back into that mid-40s range and be staring at the play-in again. The margin for error is razor thin. Still, the identity is clear now. Defense first, confidence second, and a young superstar leading the way. This is no longer a team that's happy just being good. They've crossed into something bigger. The Wolves have gone from fringe to formidable, and that's a transformation we're celebrating. You can feel the hunger in that locker room, the belief that this could be the year everything lines up. So here's my question to you, Wolves fans. What's the next step? Do you believe in this core, or are you riding with McDaniels, Gobert, and the same group around Ant? Or do you think it's time that it's come for a major shakeup to push it over the top? You tell me. Hit the call-in line at 216-452-8813 and drop your take. You might just hear your voice on the next episode of Roundball Rants. Up next, we're heading to Denver, where the mile-high Nuggets want to climb back up the ranks and to elite status. Now we're heading into Denver, the heart of the Rockies, the home of champions, and a franchise still chasing the feeling they had not too long ago when they sat on top of the basketball world. The Denver Nuggets aren't rebuilding. They aren't retooling. They're defending something bigger, their reputation. And the question hanging over them this season is simple. Is the window still open, or are we watching it slowly start to close? At the center of it all, literally and figuratively, is Nikola Jokic, the heartbeat of everything Denver does. The big man from Serbia continues to make basketball look like art. Passing, rebounding, scoring, he does it all. And somehow, he keeps finding new ways to make the game easier for everyone around him. You watch Jokic play, and it's like he's running his own version of gravity. The ball, the defense, the crowd, everything bends towards him. If Jokic is at his level, Denver's in business. But the challenge is keeping him fresh. He's carried such a massive workload for years now that the team has to manage his minutes and his body carefully. Because come playoff time, if Jokic isn't fully charged, Denver's whole system flickers. And right beside him is Jamal Murray, the other half of Denver's identity. Murray's comeback from injury was one of those redemption stories you love to see. He's got his rhythm back, rediscovered his confidence. And when the lights got bright, he reminded everyone what playoff Murray really means. The new extension shows that Denver believes he's part of this core for the long haul, and it's the right call. But now, the expectation's higher. Murray can't just be the secondary scorer, he's got to grow as the table setter too, orchestrating the offense when Jokic is doubled, reading those traps, knowing when to hunt his shot, and when to create for others. And defensively, he's got to hold his own against the league's elite guards because this Western Conference is loaded. Aaron Gordon rounds out the front line. He's the glue guy, the high flyer, the muscle who gives Denver its edge. When Gordon's locked in, this team feels bigger, faster, tougher. He's the one who takes the toughest defensive matchups and still finds a way to crash the glass, run the floor, and finish through contact. The key is consistency, especially offensively. The Nuggets need him to be that dependable third option when Jokic and Murray draw all the attention. His chemistry with Jokic has been one of the best two-man partnerships in the league, but now he's got to expand his range, keep defenses honest, and find those big moment contributions late in games. And then there's Michael Porter Jr., one of the most talented pure shooters in the NBA. When he's healthy, the man is lethal. He stretches defenses to the breaking point, but health has always been the question. Denver needs him on the floor for 70 games, not 60, not 50, 70. When he's in rhythm, hitting that high arcing three and cleaning up mismatches, the Nuggets offense hums like few others. Porter adds the spacing that makes the Jokic-Murray actions unstoppable. Without him, that offense loses balance. Now, if we shift to the supporting cast, the names might not pop off the page, but they matter. Christian Braun has emerged as the kind of player every contender needs. Energetic, fearless, defending with purpose, cutting without hesitation. He's not out there for headlines, he's out there for impact. And with Tim Hardaway Jr. joining the mix, Denver gets a little extra shooting punch and veteran savvy off the bench. Reggie Jackson provides another ball handler to steady the second unit, and Peyton Watson brings that youthful athleticism and length that can tilt games defensively. The depth isn't what it once was during their title run, but there's enough there to keep them in the mix, if everyone stays healthy. And that's the tricky part, the margin for error. Denver's stars are proven, but the league is caught up. Everyone studied the film. Everyone's planning how to trap Jokic, how to wear down Murray, how to exploit Denver's thinner bench. So this season becomes a test of adaptability. Can Michael Malone make the right adjustments? Can the young guys fill the gaps when the veterans need rest? Because if they can't, the same blueprint that won them a championship might not be enough this time around. Here's how I see it. If everything breaks right, Jokic at an MVP level, Murray efficient, Gordon steady, Porter healthy, Braun and Hardaway contributing, you're looking at a 52 to 55 wins and a realistic chance at another deep playoff run. But if the injury bug hits or the chemistry wobbles, that number dips to the mid-40s, and suddenly you're that Western traffic jam fighting for seeding instead of controlling it. From a division standpoint, Denver is still a measuring stick. Minnesota's on the rise, OKC's the defending champ, but Denver's the one everyone circles on the schedule. They've got the pedigree, they've got the experience. The question is whether they still have the hunger, because staying on top is always harder than getting there. So Nuggets fans, what do you think? Can this group make another run at it? Or has the West caught up and passed them by? Let me know. Hit the call-in line 216-452-8813 and share your thoughts. We might feature your take right here on Roundball Rants. Up next, we're heading to Oklahoma City, where the new age powerhouse is trying to prove last season wasn't just magic, it was the start of a new era. All right, here we are at the top of the Northwest Division, and this time, it's not just a feel-good story. The Oklahoma City Thunder are the defending NBA champions. Let that sink in. This young, hungry, homegrown team that grew up right in front of us went from promising to powerful, from potential to proven. But now they face something completely different. The weight of expectation. They're no longer the hunters, they're the hunted. It all starts with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the face of the franchise, the heartbeat of everything the Thunder do. Last season, he didn't just lead this team, he owned every big moment that mattered. Calm, confident, surgical. He's the kind of player that never looks rushed, never looks rattled. And in an age where stars often chase headlines, SGA just quietly dismantles opponents one possession at a time. He's entering that true superstar phase. The one where you're not just playing for stats, you're playing for legacy. Right beside him is Jalen Williams, who's blossomed into a genuine two-way force. He's long, smart, and he's turning into one of the league's best secondary creators. You can feel his impact even when he's not scoring. It's the cutting, the movement, the defense, the composure. That kind of poise is rare, especially for a player his age. If the Thunder are going to defend their crown, they'll need him to take another small step, from star in the making to nightly difference maker. And then there's Chet Holmgren, the unicorn of the bunch. His mix of size, agility, and shooting has completely reshaped how Oklahoma City plays both ends of the floor. Offensively, he stretches defenses in ways few bigs can't. Defensively, he's the anchor, altering shots, protecting the rim, and forcing teams to think twice before attacking the paint. What makes Holmgren special is that he doesn't just need the ball to change the game, he just exists in the right places, at the right times, doing the right things. Of course, you can't talk about the Thunder without talking about Lou Dort, the defensive heartbeat of this team. Every night, he's drawn the toughest assignment. He's physical, relentless, and absolutely fearless. You can't measure that kind of effort in stats, but it wins games. And when Dort hits shots consistently, that's just the bonus on top. Then you've got the depth. Isaiah Joe giving them the floor spacing. Josh Giddey adding vision and size in the backcourt. And even a few young guys who continue to make intermental jumps. The Thunder are deep, they're flexible, and they're dangerous, because every piece knows its purpose. This isn't a team built on flash, it's built on fit. But here's the thing about being the reigning champs. Everyone's coming for you. The West is a minefield. Denver wants its throne back. Minnesota's hungry, Dallas, Phoenix, even the Lakers. They're all retooling to take a swing. And history tells us how rare it is to go back-to-back. The last team to repeat as NBA champions was the Golden State Warriors back in 2018. Since then, no one's done it. It's been a stretch of 7 straight seasons without a repeat. That's not just a coincidence, it's a reflection of just how hard it is to sustain greatness in this era. The odds, they tell a story too. Betting markets this preseason have Oklahoma City right or at near the top, around 6 to 1 or plus 600 depending on the book. That's respect, but it's not dominance. That's the market saying you're elite, but we need to see you do it again. Because the truth is, repeating takes more than just talent. It takes durability, motivation, and hunger. The same qualities that pushed you up the mountain are the ones you have to summon all over again. And that's not easy when everyone's already measuring themselves up against you. This season, the Thunder aren't just defending a title, they're defending belief. The idea that their blueprint works, that you can build through development, patience, and culture, and still win it all. The whole league watched them go from rebuild to banner in record time. And now they're asking, can this young team really handle the weight that comes with staying on top? If everything breaks right, SGA keeps playing at an MVP level, Holmgren stays healthy and dominant, Jalen Williams continues his rise, and the bench holds steady, we could be looking at another 55-win season, a top seed in the West, and a legitimate shot at a repeat. But if the grind sets in, if fatigue creeps up, or if injuries start to test their depth, this could look more like a 47 or 48 win year with a tougher playoff road. The margins at the top are thin. Still, there's something about this team. The chemistry, the joy, the way they share the ball and play for one another, that makes them feel built for the long haul. The Thunder have finally arrived. They're not just a surprise anymore, they're the standard. So Thunder fans, this is your moment. You've seen the climb, you've seen the celebration, now comes the defense. Can your team stand tall when every city they visit treats it like a finals rematch? Can they be the first team in nearly a decade to go back-to-back? That's the challenge in front of them. Coming up next, we'll wrap the Northwest Division preview up by taking a look back at how these teams stack up and what the road through the West really looks like heading into the 2025-26 season. Stay with us. You're listening to Roundball Rants. And that brings us to the finish line. Time to stack them up, 1 through 5, and see how this Northwest Division shakes out for the 2025 and 26 season. At number 5, the Utah Jazz. It's a long road ahead for Utah. The rebuild is on schedule, not ahead of it. I've got them finishing with around 27 wins, a small step forward fueled by their young core, Keontae George, Chet Holmgren's former college rival, and Walker Kessler, and rookie Ace Bailey showing flashes of what's to come. The foundation's there, but it's still being built brick by brick. At number 4, the Portland Trail Blazers. Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe headline what could be one of the most entertaining backcourts in basketball. But entertainment doesn't always equal wins. The talent's developing and chemistry's growing, but the defense still has holes. I've got Portland landing around 28 wins, maybe 30 if everything clicks. Another year of growing pains, but one that moves them forward. At number 3, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards is a superstar, full stop. He, with Rudy Gobert, still form one of the league's best defensive front courts, and Naz Reid off the bench gives them a punch. I like Minnesota right around 51 wins. That's playoff ground. That's top half of the West territory. And a team that's learning how to win the hard way. At number 2, the Denver Nuggets. The former champs still have all the pieces. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, but the West is relentless, and depth is their biggest test. Denver's still elite, still dangerous, and still Jokic's kingdom, but I've got them finishing at 53 wins. They'll be in the mix all year long. And at the top, for the second straight year, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending NBA champions, the gold standard of the Northwest, and the team that everyone's gunning for. With Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the way and Chet Holmgren protecting the rim, they've got youth, talent, and now they've got experience. I'm calling it at 56 wins, another division crowned, and a legitimate shot at becoming the first repeat champs since the 2018 Warriors. So the final Northwest Division standings predictions look like this. Oklahoma City at 56 and 26, Denver at 53 and 29, Minnesota Timberwolves at 51 and 31, Portland Trail Blazers at 28 and 54, and the Utah Jazz at 27 and 55. That's how I see it. The young Kings holding their throne, the challengers climbing, and the rebuilds grinding towards relevance. Now, I want to hear from you. Who's your pick to take the Northwest this year? Are the Thunder built for a repeat, or is someone closing the gap? Call into the Roundball Rants hotline at 216-452-8813 and give me your take. The best call-in might make the next episode, so bring the heat. And if you haven't already, go hit that subscribe button on YouTube, leave a like, drop a comment, and join the conversation. Because here on Roundball Rants, it's not just about stats or standings, it's about passion, perspective, and a pulse that keeps the game alive. And keep us rolling for the next episode. I guarantee you will not want to miss it. My name is Vincent Cooper, and I thank you for listening to Roundball Rants, where here, it's not just basketball, it's therapy with a bounce.